There it is. Huh? That's right. Okay. So we can see that Moshe Rabbeinu, when God told him to take the Jewish people out, so Moshe said, send whoever you want to send. Shalach bi'ati shalach. And the Rebbe says that what does this mean? That he said, send the Mashiach, and even more, that I want to be the one connected to the Mashiach. I'll take the Jews out, but I want this thing that I take the Jews out, I want this to be connected to the Mashiach. And it says, therefore, Moshe is the first Redeemer, and he's going to be the last Redeemer. And in fact, that's what the Mashiach is. The Mashiach is a shliach. The Mashiach is an emissary, an emissary of Hashem to take the Jews, to do a job, to make a shidduch, to connect the Jews, that's the bride, to the groom, which is Hashem. Let's see. Al Pizeh, according to this, Yochel Avin, we can understand Al Pizeh, we can understand Yuvan, we can understand Al Pizeh, according to this, Yuvan, we can understand the inyan of what the Mashiach is. And why Mashiach is just a shliach, he is an emissary. Like Moshe Rabbeinu said, Shalach na bi'ad tishalach. God, he said to God, send, why send me to take out the Jews? Send Mashiach. And the Rebbe said, Moshe Rabbeinu was not trying to shirk his responsibility. He said, I just want to be, I'll take the Jews out of Egypt, but I want this to be connected to the real shliach, and that's going to be the Mashiach. The Mashiach is going to be a shliach. The Mashiach is going to be a human being just like the Rebbe. And he's going to be a shliach. Sha'al yado, that by means of this, nif'elas hashleimus inyan shlichus. There will be this will be the ultimate shliach, which is what? Unifying ma uban. Ma uban, these are the gematrias of two ways of filling God's name, Yud, and then Hey, and then Vav, and then Hey. To fill it up, there's one way is man, the other one's ban. Kabbalistically, this is what's explained in Chassidut. Ma is talking about spiritual, heavenly, godly. Ban is talking about physical, what we do from this world. This was begun, that's Ma is like the masculine aspect, and Ban is like the feminine aspect, Mother Earth, from below to above. This is from Ma is from above to below. But to unite them, as it is in this world, nobody dreams that there's such a thing as God. Nobody knows what a Jew is, right? The non-Jews for sure don't know. And even most of the Jews don't even know. But what are we doing here in the world? What's the whole purpose? Right? That's the idea of uniting Ma'uban. We're supposed to unite this world with the Creator and unite the Creator with this world to show everyone the real big picture. Make the world a healthy place. That's our job. And this began with the shlichus of Eliezer. Eliezer was talked about in our Torah portion when he married Yitzchak and Rivka. A shlichus, namely, this is the mission of God, lahavi et geula, to bring the future redemption, v'shlema. That's our job. We are shluchim. Sha'az then yesh shlemos hayichud shel haneshama b'guf. Then there will be the true purpose of the soul and the body unified. What happens when the soul and the body are unified? Health, happiness, dynamic. We feel our responsibility. We feel free to do our responsibility. Yisrael and God are totally one. But God also in the world. Shleimus Akila, the true revelation of God in this world. The Ofen Sha'olam, in the world way that the whole entire world, Naseh Dira, becomes a dwelling for God in the Tachtonim. What does it mean? Every flower that you see, every rock that there is, every wind that blows, every leaf on every tree, every animal, everything, you'll think this is just a miracle of Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. Incredible. And that's what the world is lacking. Is we're lacking someone to recognize the Creator. And that's supposed to be us. So it's understood, Madua, why, and the Mashiach himself the Mashiach is also called a Shliach. The Mashiach is supposed to unite the Jewish people with Hashem. So Mashiach is one of the Jewish people, isn't he? What this mitbateh bechibur beyichud bein shnei inyanim, the Mashiach unites two things. Uniting what's called Ma, the spiritual aspect of God, which is called Ma, the Gematria 45, and Ba, Gematria 52, these two aspects of God, spiritual and physical. Metziut la'atzmo, 1 second. Yeah. Metziut la'atzmo kiviyachol shel neshama beguf. That the shliach is going to be a thing in itself, a person, basar v'dam, flesh and blood. Like the Rambam says, that Mashiach will be melech, a king, mi beit David, from the house of King David. Hoga b'torah, he'll learn Torah, he'll do the commandments just like King David did. Mashiach is not going to be some sort of a, miraculous, spiritual, angelic figure. He's going to fight the battles of God. He's going to be in the physical world, and there's going to be people that are going to oppose him. Therefore, he'll have to make a war against them. We're not talking about necessarily a physical war, like Bar Kochava did. We're talking about a war like the Rebbe did, right? A war against, saying that you don't have to listen to the Shulchan Aruch, to give land back away to the Arabs, endangering, the very identity of the Jewish people. That's called making war. Even more, Shluchim shel Adam, the enemy of a person, Kamohu Tomamish, it says that the Shliach, there's two levels of a Shliach, we said. One level of a Shliach that he's a separate entity in himself, that he makes his own, he's like an agent. Or we can say the Shliach is like an arm of the one who's sending him. What do they call it? Proxy, is that what it's called? That he actually is in the place. So it says that a shliach, on one hand, he's separate, but on the other hand, right, just like Eliezer, on the other hand, he is an arm of God. He is just like Hashem himself. Shechen kadei lepol at the yichud, in order to unify the soul and the body of all the Jewish people by means of, like it says, forcing all the Jews. Forcing means convincing also, to go in the way of the Torah and to strengthen Judaism. The yichud aruchnius v'gashmius b'olam, and unifying spiritual and physical in the world. Tzerichim liot, there has to be bo atzmo shtei inyanim v'itachtu b'yachad. Therefore, the Mashiach, in order to do this, he has to have both things together. Right? He has to have both things together. You have to have the godliness and the physicality. The Mashiach has to be al-pi zeh. According to this, we can understand why Moshe said, Tishlach, shalach bi'ad tishalach. God at the burning bush said, Moshe, go and take the Jews out of Egypt. And Moses said, send whoever you want to send. And it explains what this means, that he is saying, send Mashiach. Moshe was b'kashat hatzah zu, in this request and this suggestion that Moses was making to God, Rotza Moshe wanted to bring about, and he actually did bring about, the joining and the unity of Goel Rishon, Moshe, who took the Jews out of Egypt, and the Goel Achron of the Mashiach. So we see the Jewish people are a nation that depends totally on miracles. But on the other hand, the Jewish people are a people that are totally in this physical world. We have our own land, Israel, it has boundaries, that's our land. right? As soon as we have it, we declare it. The whole world hates us. The whole world is against us, right? We can't have Israel. The Rebbe explained in the Sikha why it is, because the fact that the Jews have Israel is not the same thing as the Japanese have Japan or the Greeks have Greece. The Japanese have Japan, they could be displaced, right? It's happened before. There's been whole huge nations that have just been sort of erased. But the Jews having Israel, it's eternal. You can't take it from them. It's impossible. Even if there's no Jew that lives here, no Jew that ever lived here, it belongs to the Jews. And that the world can't stand. So if so, we see even in the land of Israel, there's two opposites. It's physical and it's eternal. The same thing, every single Jew is physical, but he's a Jew, an eternal nation, right? That's all the Jewish people altogether. And every single Jew individually, no matter how far away a Jew gets from Judaism, there's always something, a little spark inside that wakes him up, right? You take a Jew that he's anti-Judaism, he's anti-everything, and you say, you're a terrible Jew. He says, oh, I'm a terrible Jew. You're the one that's going to tell me who's a terrible Jew. What does he care? You can say, okay, I'm a terrible Jew. I'm a terrible tennis player. What do I care? Say what you want. No, talk about Jew. Ooh, there's something eternal inside of every Jew. The idea is to reveal this, to reveal in the land that's really a holy land, to reveal in the Jewish people they're really holy. That's the shliach. That's the joiner, Mashiach. Al derech, for instance, the difference between the light of the sun and the light of the moon. The light of the sun is the giver. The moon is the receiver. It's like Zeran, Pin, and Malchut. It's like Ma, we said before, and Ban. And the moon, that's attached to David, Melech Mashiach. Moshe received the Torah from Mount Sinai. Moshe he received the whole entire Torah. This is the source of, remember, this is what the Rebbe is telling to the Shluchim in 1992, Tafshin Nun Beis. This is the source of all blessings in the world. And from the Torah is drawn the power for everything that we do, including the power for the future redemption. The main thing of the Torah, future redemption is Torah. The world is going to go according to the Torah. That's the whole thing of Mashiach. The Mashiach is the last Redeemer. The Mashiach is the last Redeemer. The Mashiach comes at the end. That's Malchus, the very end. Moshe, he began it. He was the one who gave us the Torah. Mashiach is going to be the one that's going to show us how the Torah really affects and fixes up the whole world. This is the end of Yesh Bazeh Malas Makabel. But on the other hand, the Mashiach, he has the thing of being a receiver. Moshe was the giver. Moshe was on Mount Sinai. He came down. He brought the Torah down. Mashiach is going to be the opposite. He's going to be the receiver. All the Jewish people are going to receive from Hashem. Al Yedei Bitulo, by means of his selflessness, and convincing everyone also to be selfless. Hu kolil betocho bepinimius, he includes inside of himself he can receive all of the blessings from above. Exactly the opposite. Or hamakabel, that the light from the receiver, megia v'novea midarga nailis, this is even higher than the light from the receiver. Kafishi Gala Bagula, like it's going to be revealed in the future redemption. Like it says, Nekeva Sovev Geber, that it says the feminine will be surrounding the masculine. The receiver will be higher than the giver. Somehow or other, this world will be higher, revealed than all of the, in fact, it'll even be higher than any of the names of God and levels of God that we've known up to now. This physical world. Now the physical world is a receiver. Now the physical world is like the moon. Now the physical world is like this level of Ban, like the feminine aspect. It says, but in the future we'll see that the feminine aspect, this physical world, the Mashiach, who's the last Redeemer, that it's even higher than Moshe. It's going to be higher than any revelation of God we've ever had, even higher than the Matan Torah. Malas aguf of Yehudi. This is the highness of the physical body of a Jew. The physical body of a Jew is the receiver. It receives the soul, it receives the Torah, receiver. But there's something better about the receiver than even the giver. Because in the physical body of a Jew, there is the power of the essence of God. That's why the bris milah is in the physical body. And until the asid lavo in the future, it says the soul will be nurtured by the body. Nowadays, the soul keeps the body alive, right? A person's soul goes away, and that's it. He's dead. It's just a lump of clay. But in the future, it says that it won't be that way. Because now, what do we have? We have physical life. A person is born, he has his body, he has a physical soul in it. The soul comes in and enlivens him so that he can appreciate the world, he can learn Torah, he can be physical. But in the future, right, the soul is only a spiritual thing. In the body, somehow or other, there is the essence of God. And when that is revealed, it's even higher than the soul. And therefore, only by means of Mashiach will be this future redemption. The future redemption means not just going out of Egypt, that we can become spiritual people, but it means that we go out of any limitations of creation. And Geula means completion, even higher than what Moshe Rabbeinu brought. The Rebbe is saying here, you have to realize what the Rebbe is saying here. That's our job. This is not just a beautiful idea, an inspiring thought, a worthwhile goal. Right? This is not just our purpose that we should give our lives for. This is really what the Rebbe is actually demanding from us. Yesh lomar, the al yadesha Moshe etzliach lapol, because Moshe did convince God, shalach nabiad shalach, that convinced God to connect what he did, taking the Jews out of Egypt, to what Mashiach is going to do. Al yadezeh, by means of this, the Goel Rishon, the first Redeemer, will be the last Redeemer. Nifa leyichud, therefore, he made this unity of these two levels. Namely, Mashiach will include inside of himself these two amazing qualities. Not only that will he be a king, also he will be a Rav, Chachma. And he'll teach Torah to all the people. Right? What is what is religion? What is religion? All the other religions in the world. Believe in this guy, and you're in. Believe in the spirit. You're going to go to heaven. Right? Believe in this one person. All you have to do is believe in this one person, this one idea. That's it. And then you're out. You're out of the world. You made it. What does Judaism say? Judaism says you have to believe in all the Torah. You have to, of course, believe in the Mashiach. You have to serve God with every detail of your life, including your intellect, every moment. That's what we said, Ba B'yamim, right in the Mimer. Every moment has to be filled. There's a demand coming from every moment, right? A responsibility. You're being called to arms by every single instant. And everything has to be according to the Shulchan Aruch. That's on one hand. On the other hand, the Mashiach is going to be a king. You have to be willing to give your life for Hashem. Just giving, everything is one. That's the two opposites. On one hand, you're connected to the essence of God, which is above any limitations and any of these details. On the other hand, you must do the details, and more, even the details are more important than the general. This includes Moshe Rabbeinu and the Avos. This is Moshe Rabbeinu and the fathers, and by means of this, Moshe also had the quality of being a king. Like it says, Vayibi Yeshu and Melech. It's talking about Moshe. So it says, therefore, Mashiach will contain these two things. He'll have a king. He'll be a king, which means everybody is negated totally. They just do whatever he says, whether they understand or not. And it'll also have the aspect of Moshe, that you have to do only what it says in the Torah. Only what it is in the Torah you have to do. These two things together. Yesh Lomar, we can say that this is hinted at also. The Mashiach is the gematria of Shliach. Mashiach is the gematria of shliach, but you have to add 10. And that's not fair. 1 second. You have to add 10. Mashiach is the same thing as shliach. So you have all the letters of Mashiach. There's a shin, there's a yud, there's a chet, but here there's a mem, and here there's a lamed. So you have to add 10. Where do we get to 10? That's us, the 10 powers of our soul. Shekain shlemos gilui Mashiach. When will there be Mashiach? What's the whole completion of Mashiach? She'al yedei shehu mevatzeh avodatah k'shliach, when he is a shliach with all of the 10 powers of his soul, from Chachman till Malchut. That's the big difference they say between Moshe and he's the first redeemer, and Mashiach. Moshe took the Jews out of Egypt, but he didn't activate the Jews. He took them out of Egypt. He freed them. He freed them. He freed them from outside forces, but he didn't free them internally. That a Jew can only do himself. You can't fix somebody else. After Moses showed the Jews all these amazing miracles, saved their lives, gave them bread from heaven, took them to the desert 40 years, took them out of Egypt, gave them the Torah, and it didn't work. It didn't convince them. It didn't convince them. Still, they were doing sin. Still, they were arguing. Still, they were complaining. Still, the Mashiach, the novelty of the Mashiach, he's going to take the Egypt out of the Jews. He's going to take the selfishness out of the Jews. How is he going to do this? Mashiach only knows. But nevertheless, you have to know that that's the upper part of Mashiach. That's the shliach. He's the shliach of Hashem. Al Pi Yadu, like it's known that every Jew has in him the level of Moshe, and also has the level of Mashiach. Every Jew is a small world. Every Jew also has inside of him a Lavan and an Amalek, and also every Jew. But we also have this level of Mashiach and the level of Moshe. From this, it's understood that every Jew has to have these two things. Every Jew is a shliach of God. L'shamish is kono. The Rebbe is going to say something here. We're going to continue tomorrow. That's really earth-shaking. Right here, we have the Kenes Shluchim. We have to say that the Rebbe realized that this was the ultimate orders that the Rebbe was giving until he returns. The ultimate orders. What does the Rebbe say? What would you think he should say? He should say, now is the time to bring Mashiach. Only you can do it. No one else can do it. You must do all the work. The work is still in front of us. There's a lot to be done. What's the Rebbe in fact going to say? You'll see it later on. We'll talk about it tomorrow. The Rebbe said all the work has been done. It's all been done. All we have to do is shine the buttons. We don't even have to shine the buttons anymore. The buttons for the parade, Mashiach, it's already been said. You shine them up too much, it's no good. All we have to do now is receive Mashiach, and every Jew is a shliach. That work is not. You're not the only ones that can do it. You're not the only ones that can do it, right? The Rebbe should have said, "You're the only ones that can do it. It depends on you, Shluchim. You have to do it, and there's a lot to be done, but we can do it." The Rebbe is saying, everybody can do it. Everyone is a shliach, and there's not much that has to be done. All we have to do is accept the face of Mashiach. That's what the Rebbe says. You'll see. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Every Jew is a shliach of Hashem to serve the Creator. That's what it says. Ani lo nivrei l'shamish es koni. Right? It's the end of one of the Mishnayos of Kedushin. Every person, every Jew is here to serve the Creator. Kolol shlichaso mitpateh. What does it mean? To shine up the world. We just finished in the Mimer. We learned, right? To shine up time. Le'ir at the olam, to shine up the world with the light of holiness and the light of godliness. Ubezeh, there are two ways to do it. What? There's two illuminators. There's the sun and the moon. Ma'ora gadol, the sun, and the Ma'ora katan, and the moon, the small illuminator. Kiyadua, like it's known that the whole world is in the heart of every Jew. So every Jew also has every aspect of the world. We have to be like a shemesh. We have to be like the sun. to give over to others. And we have to be like the moon to receive. By means of this, that we're receiving from God and we experience life, we learn from every moment. But on the other hand, we have to be here to be like, that's like the moon. We have to be like the sun to give. By means of this, we can shine up the world with a or choser, which is called a returning light. Like it says, kulam. It says that I learned a lot from my teachers and my friends, but I learned the most from my pupils. In other words, when you receive from someone else, especially people that receive from you, receiving, right? So the pupils, that they're the receivers, they're the best teachers of all. That's called or choser. Similarly, yesh b'zeh ma she'en b'zeh. There is what in this, what there isn't in this. So we have to be both. I'll just give you another maybe simple example. I go out every Friday, I put tefillin on people, right? So I'm a religious Jew, I put tefillin on. Sometimes you put tefillin on a person, and the person is just like so happy and so appreciative of the tefillin. He says Shema Yisrael. It could be a totally non-religious Jew. It could be a Jew, an Ashkenazi, a cold heart like stone, and he puts on tefillin. All of a sudden, you see that he really appreciates it. He says thank you afterwards. You start to think, wow, maybe there really is something to these tefillin more than I understand. The receiver is sometimes stronger than the giver. So that's what we have to have, both aspects inside of us. A shliach has to be like the moon, that he is totally negated to the one who's sending him, in other words, the Rebbe, and he has to be in existence on his own. A bar das, that he can make his own decisions, he understands things on his own, and how that he should do his shlichus in his own individual way. This is the way that Moshe and Mashiach can be unified. Mashiach is the thing of the receiver, he's Malchus, and Moshe is the giver of the Torah. He is the first redeemer and the last redeemer. This is drawn from also every single Jew should choose. Every single Jew is a shliach to unite these two things together. On one hand, to be receiving from the Rebbe, and on the other hand, to give over to others, to be a leader and to be a follower of the Rebbe, to do what the Rebbe wants. And when also we're on our own, you have to be on your own. You have to be sometimes to be a leader. So we must be both, as we'll talk about more, God willing, in length tomorrow. There'll be a class, God willing, at 3:00. Everyone is invited. Oh, are the Tesslers still here? One sec. Oh, shalom.
Thanks, Rob.
You probably want a story, right, Tesslers? Oh, what?
Yep.
There's also Smith kids.
Oh, Smith. Yeah, there's Smith. Does he want a story? I'm not saying. Oh, yes.
Yes.
He does. Okay. Okay. So I'll tell you a story. This is the story. Ready? Okay. This is a story about the Rebbe Rashab. Last Shabbos was the Rebbe Rashab's birthday. The Rebbe Rashab sometimes he was very weak. The Rebbe Rashab. He was very, very delicate person. The Rebbe Rashab, and he was fighting terrible, terrible battles also to save Jews and all. So sometimes he would go, especially on Shabbos, he would go to a place that they called like a, Binas Desha or a Dutcha or something. He would go to a little cabin that was outside of Lubavitch. And there he would, he would go there with his wife and he would rest. Well, it happened to be that one Shabbos like this, and this was like a 3-hour walk or something from the city of Lubavitch. And everybody knew that he didn't want to be disturbed over there. It was a lot of times it was a matter of life and death. He would have to go to rest, and other things that he would do. Spiritual anyway. So it happened that one Shabbat that one of the pupils of the yeshiva, he didn't feel good. He had a high fever, and he had diarrhea, which usually that's not a big problem. But then there was cholera. There was a terrible, terrible plague in the world that was called cholera. I think it was like, 100 times worse than even the worst. I mean, they're trying to make us scared of the corona like it was, but corona is absolutely nothing like it. People were dying like flies. Cholera. What was the cholera? People would have high fever and diarrhea. That's what they would have. That was one of the signs. So this boy had high fever and diarrhea. So the only cure, they didn't know they didn't, the medicine. We're talking about this is like 100 whatever years ago. So they didn't have any medicine really over there for this cholera. So what they would do is they would prepare hot tea, and that would help a person a little bit. Hot tea. So in order to make hot tea, they would have to light a fire. So they said, listen, we won't lit the fire. The non-Jew will light the fire, and he'll cook. So the boy that was sick, he said, I'm not prepared that in any way you should desecrate the Shabbos for me, because maybe I'm not dying. Maybe it's not cholera. So they said, yeah, but even if it's a doubt, you're allowed to defile the Shabbos. Even a Jew is allowed to transgress the Shabbos. It's not Shabbos. He said, no, I'm not going to do it. Only if the Rebbe says that I should drink hot tea, will I say okay. So this was like already in the whole evening they were with him. Early in the morning, maybe right before, they're set off. One boy, I heard this, his name was Pirlov. And he set out and he started to run. He ran to the direction where the Rebbe was spending his Shabbat. And so he ran. It was like a 3-hour walk, but he figured if he really ran, he could make it there in 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. So he ran, as it was a healthy young man. He ran. Finally, after like an hour and a half, whatever, he got there. And the Rebbe Rashab's wife, Chaye Sara, she saw this young man running, a Jewish fellow. So she said, what happened? He said, oh, no, it's nothing. It's nothing. I just want to talk to the Rebbe. So what do you mean it's nothing? You came running all the way to see the Rebbe. No, I just wanted to tell the Rebbe something. He says, tell me what it is. He said, one of the boys, he's a little bit sick and we don't know, should we call a doctor? So what do you mean he's sick? What has he got? He said, well, he's got, a fever. He says, a fever? You come running over here for a fever? He said, yeah, no. He said, no, he's got the diarrhea. He says, what? That's cholera. He's got cholera. He says, we have to do something quick. He said, no, the boy says he won't even drink hot coffee. He won't let them cook up hot coffee unless the Rebbe says he should. She said, okay, come in immediately. She took this young boy, the young man, this Bachar, took him in to see the Rebbe. The Rebbe was before davening. He had his talus over. His wife said to him, it's sakanas nafashos. There's a young man that he's got cholera, and he refuses to drink. And the Rebbe said, cholera? He says, what are the symptoms? What's he got? He says he has a high fever. His wife says, yes, he has a high fever. So the Rebbe said, no, a high fever is no big. His wife said, but he also has diarrhea. His wife, tell him. He said, yes, Rebbe, he has diarrhea. He says, so he has diarrhea. People have upset stomachs. It's no big deal. It's no big thing. No, you don't have to light. Even the non-Jew shouldn't light fire. His wife said, but how can you say anything like that? Even in a doubt. But she realized her husband, the Rebbe knew. So the young man ran back to, this time he didn't run so hard because the Rebbe said there was no danger. He ran back. Meanwhile, all of the young men were standing outside of the yeshiva, outside of the dormitory, and they were, or at least they were standing outside of where this boy was, and they were standing outside, and they were reading Tehillim and praying for him. He had all the signs of cholera. Cholera was deadly. That was it. So they said, what did the Rebbe say? What did he say? So he ran past all the young men, and he ran into they said, where are you going? It's dangerous. He's dangerous. He grabbed onto the young man and he hugged him and said, the Rebbe said you're healthy. The Rebbe said it's no problem. The young man, meanwhile, he's burning with fever. It's just like almost, he opens up his eyes, said, the Rebbe said you're healthy. The Rebbe said it's no problem. Said, the Rebbe said I'm all right. He says, yes, he said, you're right. All of a sudden, he started to feel better. Within a quarter of an hour, he was standing up on his feet. He was okay. He came outside. He was healthy. No problem whatsoever. So we see that sometimes when the Rebbe decides something, is that's the way it is. So the Rebbe, even though this young man had all the signs, even if he was just had a regular normal sickness, he wouldn't have gotten quick healthy so fast. But as soon as he heard what the Rebbe said, and I mean, I probably had somebody could say it was psychosomatic, suddenly he became healthy. So it is also with us. If the Rebbe said Mashiach is already here, we have to open our eyes, as that's the way it is. So we need Mashiach now. Have a good Shabbos, everyone. 3:00. 3:00. Bye. Come to class.
Rabbi,
Well, could we go on today? Could we finish the